And that something just might change your life and actually make a damn difference in my life.
You're going to want to pay attention to this one.
Hey everybody, David Niggle. You're going to love this episode.
The more we understand about how our subconscious mind is working, and the more that we can separate ourselves from the operation of it, the way that it's working based on the patterns, and ultimately understand that what it's really trying to do is to keep you alive. Really the subconscious mind has two functions: to keep you alive moving forward in life and to procreate. That's all it really cares about. It doesn't really care about anything else. But what's interesting about the subconscious mind is that it's so ingeniously designed to do what it does that if we're not paying attention, we can get sucked down a rabbit hole or into a pre-existing pattern so easy and not even recognize it. Just be completely clueless to the fact that we were sucked into our own sabotage pattern for the sake of the subconscious mind just trying to keep you moving along its predetermined course of behavior and thinking. I do a pretty elaborate teaching at the Art of Success on financial set point. Anything that we create repetitively as a pattern, we create a set point. And that set point is that the place that your subconscious mind is constantly working to keep you at. So if you're making $50,000 a year, most people don't make $50,000 a year. But like, if you make $50,000 a year, it's generally not because you want to. Like, you probably would like to make $50,000 a month or $50,000 a day. We make $50,000 a year because we don't know how to make $50,000 a month or $50,000 a day. But the $50,000 becomes the set point. So there's all kinds of things that are wrapped up into that pattern, like how you're seen. Money in the world that we live in is very much attached to the idea of a class system or our education or how we're seen as being successful or not successful, the idea of how other people think of us, good and bad. Like there's a lot in the idea of money. Some of it's painful. Some of it has been interpreted as a threat to the way that we live, meaning that if my set point's $50,000 a year, and I'm going to seriously work on breaking that, say I want to take it from $50,000 a year to $1 million, I have to intellectually conceptualize of that. I have to start to create a plan. I have to have daily activities that are going to take me toward that goal. And once I start to move toward that goal, my subconscious mind is looking for anything that is a threat. It doesn't even need to be specific. It could simply be the unknown. And what it's going to do is it's automatically going to engage a sabotage pattern to try to bring you back down to $50,000 a year. That means the thoughts that go along with $50,000 a year, or correcting the behavior, the emotions that go along with it, the behaviors, and the things that we see outside of ourselves, our results, our circumstances, our environment, people, places, things. It will also create different things to focus on to take your attention off of the daily activities that you said that you were going to do in order to get to $1 million a year.
So for this episode, you spent the beginning talking about the function of the subconscious mind. And as a refresher for our longtime listeners who can probably never hear it enough, and maybe as an introduction to our newer audience, can you talk about what those functions are and how being aware of how the subconscious mind works can help a person move forward?
Biologically and historically, the subconscious mind is really a way for us to be safe in an unsafe world. It developed a few million years ago in biology, and it's a couple 100,000 years old in human beings. And its design is so that it notices something that's a threat for a person. So then there's an automatic response. It's fight, flight, or freeze. So the whole idea behind it was an instantaneous response to danger so that the species can procreate and continually move forward, where there's no thinking really involved in its own survival. But what ends up happening is over millennia, over a long period of time, the threats change for human beings mostly, right? And as those threats change, the subconscious mind gets programmed with different levels of threat, different kinds of threat, different meanings about threat. And it's unique in the idea that it can't reject anything that is placed in it. It can only accept information that it's put in it. And then it takes that information and it looks for patterns of behavior and patterns of our experience to determine how it's going to respond. And it responds underneath our conscious thought. So it's always scanning. It's always looking for anything that might be danger. Well, if we look at just the general idea behind it, it's anything that is unknown is danger, because it doesn't have a pattern to deal with something that's not unknown. If we've never experienced it before, we don't have a pattern to deal with it, right? So the idea is that for people that are going after success, you're going after things in your life that you've never done before. You're thinking differently, you're behaving differently, you're setting different goals, you're achieving things, you're doing things outside of the comfort zone of maybe the family or the people that you're around. And your subconscious mind starts to go haywire because it doesn't have patterns to deal with this. So what it does is it causes you to see specific things in your environment, feel a certain way about it, with the idea to retract you so that you deal with what's known versus what's unknown. And that's where so many people get tripped up, because they follow that emotion and they follow that inner guidance from the subconscious mind versus the direction that they want to go, because nobody ever told them that this process is happening inside of them.
And I asked somebody that I had great respect for, that was at the top of the company, what my problem was. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, "You don't want it bad enough." And I remember at the time just getting so angry with this guy, because, deep down inside, I was like, who the hell are you to tell me I don't want it bad enough? I'm working my tail off here. But the truth of the matter was, when I calmed down and really started looking at what he said, I didn't want it bad enough. I was working to the best of what I knew the best to be at the time. And I think that a lot of people have this problem. They don't understand what their best really is. So they work hard. They work till they get tired, which is what they're using as a barometer of their best. And then they stop. And that's a clear indication that a person does not understand the cause and effect of what's going on in their business. They think that working hard, to their definition of hard, is all that it takes. And for years I've always said, you have to understand what the cause and effect of making money is in a business. But another problem is also very prevalent, and that is that what's your definition of working hard? Because it's probably not my definition, and it's probably not the definition of what real successful people have as a definition of working hard. Now, when I say working hard, I don't mean working miserable, okay? There's a very big difference, and if you cannot separate the idea of those two things in your mind, it's probably because you're coming from a middle-class belief system where all work is hard, all work is miserable. But I think that we need to reevaluate what is actually hard and what is miserable and what is it that we enjoy doing.